Okay, Supervisor Cerna.
Great, thank you, Alma. Okay, I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Metro Air Park Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District Public Financing Authority for Wednesday, January 12th, 2022. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll and establish a quorum?
Yes, thank you. Supervisor Frost?
Here.
Natoli? I don't see him in the meeting. So Kiesling? Kiesling?
Here. Sorry, I was muted. Here.
That's okay. Whipple?
Here.
And Mr. Cerna?
Here.
You have a quorum.
All right, terrific, thank you. All right, Member Frost, will you do us the honor of leading us in the pledge, please?
Yes, I sure will. Thank you. Please rise if you can for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the
and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for that, and Happy New Year to everyone. We do have a fairly light agenda today, and so we will try and make the best use of everyone's time. So with that, Madam Clerk, first item.
Well, I'd like to read the clerk statement, if that's okay.
Yes, please.
In compliance with the directives of the County, State, and Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, this meeting is live streamed and closed to public attendance. Meeting procedures are subject to change and pursuant to guidelines related to social distancing and minimizing person-to-person contact. If you'd like to make a comment at today's meeting, please call 916-875-2501 to provide information, and callers will be contacted by phone and transferred into the meeting to make a comment on a specific agenda item or off-agenda matter. Written comments are always accepted. Please send email comments to boardclerk@saccounty.net. Include the meeting date, agenda item, and off-agenda matter. And written comments are distributed to members and filed in the record. And that concludes my comments.
All right, very good. Okay, I believe now we can go on.
Yes, item number 1 is to adopt a resolution authorizing remote teleconference meetings for the period of January 12, 2022 through February 11, 2022, pursuant to the Ralph M. Brown Act.
Chair.
Okay. Yes.
Just wanted to jump in here. Assuming that there's not going to be any real discussion on this, I'd like to move that resolution that we extend teleconference meetings for the period of January 12th through February 11th, 2022.
Okay, it's been moved by Member Kiesling. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Vice Chair Frost. Roll call vote, please.
Frost?
Aye.
Kiesling?
Aye.
Whipple?
Aye.
And Cerna?
Aye.
And the motion carries by unanimous vote with those members present.
Very good, thank you. And then just for the edification of everyone on the Zoom, this is no different than what's been applied recently to all public governance meetings in Sacramento County, and doesn't mean that it won't be extended, so stay tuned. All right, on to the next item, please.
Sorry, I just needed to announce that we did not have any public comment for item number 1. Item number 2 is the first public hearing of the infrastructure financing plan and set date of the second public hearing to February 17th, 2022 at 1 p.m.
Okay. We have a staff report.
Yes, good afternoon, directors. This is Colin Bettis, the County Debt Officer. To start off with the presentation of the infrastructure financing plan, I'll be going over some of the key items within the plan as developed by Debbie Kern of Kaiser Marston. The first section includes an introduction and summary of the plan, most of which was included within the board letter, and I'll discuss many of those items as we go through presenting the plan. The second section includes a description of Metro Air Park Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District, including the anticipated new development. The county's economic development team provided a lot of detail behind the current status of the development, and you'll note that within that we have updated the conceptual map to incorporate additional development that has occurred since our October meeting. And let's see. So and so a lot of those that were previously shown as posed are, have moved into submitted or in construction status. Using this information, Kaiser Marston produced an anticipated absorption schedule, which anticipates the build-out of Metro Air Park to be completed by the year 2046. Section 2 ends by identifying a key value in the formation, identifying the growth within Metro Air Park as identifying the starting value, which will be the fiscal year 21-22 equalized assessed value. The base value is identified as $727.9 million. Section 3 of the plan includes a description of the facilities that are eligible for funding within the Metro Air Park Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District. The majority of the public facilities included within the list of improvements are the same projects that have been incorporated into the Community Facilities District, as well as the Metro Air Park Public Facilities Financing Plan, most recently updated in 2020. This will allow for the most flexibility in identifying the funding source for those projects when the project is ready to be constructed. Attachment B includes an estimate of timing of the completion of the public facilities, which was also updated within that financing plan. As mentioned previously, we wanted to maintain that flexibility, so there are many different ways that these public improvements may be funded, either through private development and paid for solely by the developers, constructed and funded by private land developers and acquired by the county through reimbursement to the developer to the extent allowable through either EIFD revenues, CFD revenue bond proceeds, or impact fees. Or finally, constructed by the county and funded by any available source of funds previously mentioned. Subsection B of Section 3 includes the finding that there are significant community-wide benefits to the public projects included within the list. The new development will directly create an estimated updated amount of full-time jobs for residents throughout the Sacramento region. With respect to specific improvements, the MAP EIFD will assist in the funding extensive improvements to major arterials, which will improve the regional transportation system. Section D of Section 3 includes the goals of the EIFD to provide additional funding for public facilities that are needed for Metro Air Park's continued expansion, enhance the access to Sacramento International Airport, support the development of facilities that will house airport-related business, provide for projects such as needed fire stations and park facilities that would be challenging to fund solely with impact fees and CFD PAYGO resources, and to accelerate the timing of construction of public facilities, and finally to minimize the impacts of inflation on project costs. Section E is a statement required by EFD law that this plan is consistent with the county's general plan, which it is. And Section 4, the financing section, describes the financing plan for the MAP EIFD eligible facilities and anticipated fiscal impacts that the development of Metro Air Park will generate to the County of Sacramento. Subsection A describes the allocation of revenues to the Metro Air Park EIFD as described in the law, and subsection B states the maximum portion of incremental tax revenue committed to Metro Air Park EIFD, and consistent with the ROI and the request to the developers, this is set to 50% of the county's share of tax increment and property tax in lieu of vehicle license fees. Subsection C includes Metro Air Park EIFD tax revenue projections based on the share of taxes provided in subsection B. Table 5 on page 16 includes the projections of the taxes allocated to Metro Air Park EIFD. Subsection D is the plan for financing the facilities, and again, this section is intended to allow for the maximum flexibility when looking at the mechanisms for financing facilities. At this time, it's anticipated that public facilities will be financed through a combination of the various sources of funding. A viable financing scenario is that new money, Community Facilities District bonds, are issued in conjunction with an anticipated current refunding of the bonds, the outstanding bonds, that would fund the projects. The bonds would be sold with reliance solely on the CFD revenues, but the CFD revenues or special taxes could be offset by EFD revenues that could be pledged as a source of repayment to the CFD under the bond documents. Subsection E includes the limit on total taxes allocated to the Metro Air Park EIFD, a not to exceed amount of $200 million. Subsection E states that the termination date of the Metro Air Park EIFD, which will be either June 30th, 2058, or the date that the cumulative deposits into the Metro Air Park EIFD total $200 million, whichever occurs first. Subsection G provides the analysis of the costs of the County of Sacramento in providing facilities and services, as well as the estimated fiscal impacts of new development within the boundaries of Metro Air Park EIFD. Table 7 provides the estimated annual operating impacts to the county general fund and road funds, and you'll note that the net result is an annual deficit of $128,000 in the first year and an annual surplus up to $6 million at build-out. One significant finding to point out is that the road fund revenues do not cover the road fund expenses within Metro Air Park in the future. The county has determined that some of the CFD special tax may be utilized for this expense in the future, but has not determined if it will be sufficient to cover the variance between revenues and expenditures of maintaining the roads. At this time, I'd like to open up to the directors for any questions you may have. And I know that Debbie Kern was having troubles getting in at first, but I see that she's now on as well. So we also have Brandon Diaz from ORIC, who will also be able to respond to any bond questions.
Great. Thank you for the detailed report. Any members have questions of staff?
This is Director Whipple. I just have a couple questions for Colin. Colin, in the report, it doesn't talk about what the remaining bond authorization is for the CFD. Is that something that needs to be in this IFP, or is it fine that it's silent?
So I don't believe that it needs to be in the IFP because realistically, when we issue the CFD bonds, we will be relying on the CFD revenues solely for that issuance.
Okay.
But I do believe that there was a planned $50 million issuance in the 2020 analysis that went to the board, and that was originally anticipated in 2036. We're finding now that since Metro Air Park has some significant value within the area already, and additive value to the undeveloped properties, that there is an opportunity now, or at least we believe so, that there's an opportunity now to issue both refunding bonds and new money bonds.
Okay, and then I guess I have a question then for Brandon. If IFP tax increment revenues are pledged to the CFD paid debt services, does the CFD need to go through any, I guess, do the current documents allow that, or is there any changes that need to happen to any of the CFD documents to allow that?
Yeah, this is Brandon Diaz from ORIC. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. So, Director Whipple, the current CFD RMA does not contemplate, obviously, that the EIFD was in place because it was done so many years ago. So I think the structure we've come up with, or at least thought about, is providing in the indenture for an offset of CFD debt service to the extent that EIFD revenues are deposited with the trustee. So there would kind of be a year lag where the taxpayers would, get a reduction of CFD special taxes the following fiscal year based on what was deposited from the EIFD in the prior fiscal year. Okay. So that's, the newer CFDs that have been done with EIFDs kind of contemplate all that crediting mechanism within the RMA, but the RMA for Metro Air Park does allow for the tax to be offset by other available revenues. Okay, it just doesn't specifically contemplate the EIFD. So that's that's the kind of document structure and crediting mechanism we've thought about.
Okay. Thank you, Brandon.
Okay, any other questions for staff or our consulting team? All right, seeing none. Madam Clerk, do we have any members of the public that wish to address the authority on this matter?
We did not receive any requests to make verbal comments, and we did not receive any written public comments.
Okay. All right. And this is an action item, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so if there are no more questions, comments from members, that entertain a motion at this point.
Yeah, as Mike Whipple, I'll pass a motion to adopt the infrastructure financing plan.
Okay, it's been moved by Member Whipple. Is there a second?
I'll second it. Frost.
Seconded by Vice Chair Frost. Before
Sorry,
This is
sorry,
Diane.
just to interject.
Can you hear?
who's
Hello?
speaking? Who's speaking?
Yes.
This is Diane McElhern, Deputy County Counsel.
Yes.
You can hear me. Okay.
Yes.
Well, you're cutting in and out, but yeah.
The recommendation should be to move the staff recommendation, which is in the staff report, which is opening the first public hearing all written oral comments, close the public hearing, and then set the second public hearing for February 17th.
So
We're not adopting the FID at this time.
Member Whipple, if you'd like to amend, just for the record, so it's clean, amend your motion just to say you're moving staff recommendation. That's all you need to say.
Thank you.
I'll amend my motion to adopt the staff recommendation.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, very good. We have a motion and a second on the floor. No further comment. Roll call vote, please.
I'm sorry, was the second by
Vice
Vice
Chair
Chair Frost? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Frost,
Aye.
Kiesling,
Aye.
Whipple,
Aye.
and Cerna.
Aye.
And the motion carried to for staff recommendations to move to pass the staff recommendations.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Okay, on to our next item.
Sorry. Sorry, I
Which-
was trying to look at several documents at one time. Item number 3 is just director comments.
Okay, any comments from authority directors? Not seeing any. And Madam Clerk, do we have any comments from the public on items not on the agenda?
No, we do not.
Okay, I think that concludes our business this afternoon. Again, I want to thank everyone for taking time out of their busy schedules and their service to this authority to be here at our first inaugural meeting of 2022. Wish everyone a happy new year, stay healthy, and look forward to our next meeting. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.